Okay. So I have decided that T-snug is 15.15. Okay, good. Going to delete that split, and that split didn't get deleted. What? Oh no, yes it did. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is extend this rectangle on both ends. I grab the top end here just to get rid of a little bit more material, just because I can. Now if I go to if I go into this sketch, I've got 95 for the cookie cutter itself, 10 away, so plus 20 to that is gonna be 115, right? Cool. Okay. So what that means is I'm gonna change the sleeve depth to, I believe, 115. What happened here? Oh, I see. I see. There we go. So now if I take this one away, I've got that, and this one away, I've got that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this one. The reason being, I want to work on this one sleeve right now. And then I want to make any modifications to it later for other modules, because this is essentially going to be the top one, and then when I get rid of this top piece here, that's going to be all the ones that aren't the topmost sleeve. So then next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sketch here, project all of this, and I'm going to add a feature to allow me to hang this on the wall if I want to. These two are equal. I'll work on this side. Okay, and this one will be 2, and this one will be like 5, and this one will be 3. Okay, and then mirror this. And might as well go with these two. Alright. Extrude all of this stuff by wall thickness. Alright, so now that'll allow me to... That'll do two things. One, for the sake of the print here, when I print it, that's a very simple first layer. It's a very simple base. Two, this back plate is on the wall. Oh, and then the third thing it does is it gives somewhere for the darn cookie cutter to stop. So that's good. Alright, so now the next thing I'm gonna do is chamfer these these edges here, the top and the bottom. It's gonna be two distances. This one goes this far, and this one goes this far. And what does that look like? Okay. Chamfer this one, and the first one is gonna be, and the second one is gonna be, so now it almost looks like a floppy disk drive. But that's the idea, right? This here makes the opening big enough that I can slip the cookie cutter in more easily. Okay, what if I include this then? Wrong one. This one wants to go in the wrong direction. What? I don't know what I did there, but that's false. Okay. I just won't then. Alright. So honestly, this part is only needed by the bottom and the top ones. And I'm going to have 3 separate modules. I'm going to have a top, a bottom, and a middle. And so this one is going to be the top. So now I can just make a copy of this and make another copy of it There's the button. Alright. So this one is, I'm going to call this top sleeve. This one I'm going to rename middle sleeve. And this one I'm going to rename bottom sleeve. Okay. So now I'm going to get rid of the bottom sleeve, start a sketch on this plane here. And I'm going to can I make a slot? Center to center slot. Let me try that. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna project these two lines here. I'm gonna put a construction line going through the middle there. Oof. I'm gonna project these the full length, and now I'm gonna put that line going through them. All right. Make them all parallel. All right, now I'm going to make a slot. Oh, wait. I forgot, these slots are not constructions. Now, what can I make equal? These are going to be equal. I'm going to make that go there. And this one and this one are going to both also be on it. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that's perpendicular here. And make those equal so that they're all equally spaced. Okay, so now I just gotta pick the size here, and so, or I can just, how big is that? Okay. What? That's the wrong, oh, because I picked the wrong line. Okay, well, I'll just make the same slots then. Stop making construction lines. Okay. Construction line again. Okay, and then okay. Now that everything's equal, I can go ahead and cut these out. And that doesn't serve any functional purpose. It's just the distance. It's just that this thickness here is one that will essentially be 100% infill. So that's just removing material. Okay. So now if I get rid of the top sleeve, the middle sleeve has it, and then the top sleeve has it, but the bottom sleeve doesn't. So now I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to keep the middle and the bottom sleeve, but get rid of the top sleeve. Where was that first sketch? With yeah, this one. And then change the sketch to be just very long. Okay, so now the top one has what it needs. The middle one has what it needs, and the bottom one has what it needs, and then the middle one, gonna get rid of, okay, hang on. I'm gonna rename this to cut out from middle and bottom. Okay. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Alright. So now I'm going to take the middle one, make only the middle one visible, make this visible. Okay. Because I only need the middle one. I only need the I only need these holes on the top and the bottom, right? So now, if I move the top up some, and I move the bottom down some, that's what it's going to look like. And say I want like 3 other cookie cutters besides that, right? I want to add like 2 more cookie cutters, right? I'll add more middles. Whoops. Right, and so I'll just have that many. So now I can hang this on the wall if I wanted, but I don't have to. I could just put it somewhere. And I really don't know how much space I'm saving here, or how much material I'm saving here with these cutouts. I might just get rid of them. It depends on, let me think. If I have the middle here, the middle, and the bottom. If I split them both here and compared the time it took and the material it took, I can, in the slicer, I can decide on whether I want to keep this cutout, but also rename to back and rename this to cutout from middle and top. But I think this is a good system for the sleeves that I'm gonna put the cookie cutters in, right? What do you want, Chia? Chia, no, don't be playing like that. Chia, don't claw at the curtain like that. Come here, Chia. Ay, ay! Chia, you gotta stop being a little scoundrel. Leave the bedroom door open for 2 minutes. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start designing cookie cutters. I think. Yeah, I'm gonna start designing cookie cutters. Since this is a square, I can make square-sized and shaped cookie cutters, and because of how this works, instead of it being one big sleeve that they go in and out of, it's several small, like essentially cubbies, right? So instead of having to stack them, instead of them having to stack neatly, they can all be whatever shape they want to be. But I do want to still keep giving them the same standard base, because I like the idea of standardizing the base of the cookie cutters, because that also allows for the first idea I had of like actually them all being in one great big sleeve, which would be easier and cheaper to make one than several drawers, rather than several cubbies, right? Which each of these takes probably like, each of these is going to take more material than the cookie cutter itself, right? If I make one great big thing to hold them all, that's going to take less material overall. This is a better system, but the other idea would be cheaper. So that's what the idea is. So I'm going to keep them with a standardized base. But this I'm renaming to base geometry. This I'm going to rename to ideas. This I'm going to rename to other ideas. Okay, what is sketch 11? Sleeve legs. Not let's legs. What? No. Name. And this I'm calling sleeve leg supportless printability. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of these copies here. Yes. Yes. And now I'm gonna get rid of this move and this move. So now, yeah, I'm gonna have the bottom one here so that I can start a sketch on it. I'm gonna go ahead and project that, and I'm gonna go ahead and project that. I'm gonna get rid of it, and this is the space I have to work with for making the cookie cutter. Right? So the base of it, I'm gonna make either round or square. I'm gonna make it square. The reason I'm gonna make it square is so that I can fully utilize all of this volume inside the actual storage space. And then right, and I'm gonna make it as big as I can. So that's gonna be the loose parameter away from the edge. On these three sides. And then this one I want to be a little bit closer. I want it to be practically the same size, right? That's the maximum size for the base. Now for the actual cookies, for the actual cookie cutter, right? This is going to be the loose parameter on these three sides again. But on this, oh, no. The actual cutter now is going to be from here to here. I'm going to put another one from here to here. These are going to be construction lines. Now this is going to be equal to this one. Alright. I'm also going to put them on the same corner if I can. Alright. And yeah. So now that's going to go all the way down to here. That's a construction line. And this line here is going to be equal to this line here. So now the size of the cookie cutters can be up to 95 by 94.6. Oh, I know what happened. It's because yeah, 94.6. If I add the 0.4 here, okay. It's almost a square, but it's not quite. That's really, really annoying. That's really annoying. But oh well. Anyways, if I make the first one, right, 0.8, and I just make it all go. I don't like that. Okay. All these purple lines are going to become construction lines. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know why this one decided it didn't want to be a construction line for the longest time, and then it's like, nah, I will be. Okay, so now I can extrude this. By the cutter base. If I bring up the sleeve and I start a sketch here, I can measure from here to here. I can project this and then measure it. That's 0.5 millimeter. Okay, good. And now if I start a sketch, okay, so I'm gonna name this cutter base. And I'm also going to go back into this sketch and add in like a little grid, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna add in a grid. Or should it be a radial grid? Let's see, offset this by like 5, 2.5. Copy this around this center point 4 times. Do the same thing. Copy this around this 4 times. Trim it all. get rid of all that. Okay, and ha, lame. What happened there? Nope, that didn't. That isn't it. Ah. Okay. So it's probably a similar issue on this end. And on this end too. Oh, I see, because this is short, so like there. So now in this one, include this. Alright, that's the base. So the reason why I have this little spoke pattern here is if I want to make a design that is smaller than this, then it'll be attached to the base, you know. Yeah. So now I'm gonna make a sketch here, and I'm gonna bring up this sketch. And I'm gonna project these lines here. And those will represent the maximum size of the cookie cutter shape. As long as what I have fits in, as long as my design fits inside of this, it'll work. So like say I want to make a snowman, right? There's the top hat. Right, and then I want to put a big circle here. Actually, I want to put a big circle here, a smaller circle here, and another smaller circle here, right? This circle has to be within there, inside of that. And actually what I think I can do is I don't even need to have this, right? I just need to have this, because if everything is smaller than this edge here, then I expand it outward, then it'll always be within here. Make this about this big and this about this big, and bring the top hat way higher, like about there. Make it smaller. Make these collinear. That looks pretty good. Then I trim it all up. And then -0.8. All right, there. -0.8. So now I can just select everything. Right, and I forgot to make a copy. Okay, hang on. Okay, get rid of the base. Now I can select, now I can extrude it all. And I make this the cutter height. And I make it two distances actually. One side is cutter height, the other one is going to the back here. And now, if I bring back the bottom sleeve, whole thing fits inside of it. If I move this up by a distance of 1/4 millimeter. Okay, good. So now if I get, so now what I can do is I can put a sketch on this plane, bring back the sleeve here, put a rectangle on it, too loose, too loose, and then I can put words on this and say and label it snowman. It needs to be fairly small actually, so I'm going to change that font to about 5. It's going to be centered. Okay, and then this is going to be like 6. Yeah. Now I can extrude this by -2 times wall thickness. Bring that back up and extrude the snowman by -1. And now I have a labeled cookie cutter, right, that ought to be able to cut out a cookie. And then if I just round off these corners here, so that they're not so sharp, because this is what is going to be interacting with people, is these corners here. Let's give this one the same treatment. Might as well. And I give them all a radius of wall thickness. Okay, that's too much. Divided by 2. And now I've got a labeled snowman cookie cutter. If I have the top sleeve, right? So now what I can do is if I have this in the stack, I can just pull this out. The little label here acts also as a little handle to pull it out, as if it was a drawer, and I can pull it out and use it to cut cookies out of cookie dough. So another thing that I want to do is start a sketch here. I need to offset that's what I didn't want. Okay. I'm also developing my process of how I'm going to design these cookie cutters, right? Because oh, I know what I'm going to do. Okay. So, what if... What is this? Okay. What is this one? Let's not include this. So now I've got... This happens to have touched it, but... Now if I start a sketch here, I can go ahead and just put a line there. And no. Because here's the thing, right? The cookie cutter needs to be able to have a gap going all the way through. And the reason it needs to be able to do that is if the cookie gets stuck to the cookie cutter, you can push through it, right? And unstick the cookie cutter. So, in order to do that, right, but a 0.8 millimeter surface touching the build plate is not a good thickness for a first layer, right, and also uncomfortable to touch. So, what I can do is offset this by about... Here's what I'll do. I'll make a parameter. I will name it wall thickness. I've got T-snug wrapper. The wrapper is the snug plus the wall thickness. Actually, I'm going to make it wrapper. Yeah, I won't make a new parameter. I'll just offset it by wrapper. On both sides. And now I should be able to extrude that up to here. Alright, that's pretty good. And one thing I'm going to do is for this one specifically, is I'm going to go ahead and extend this line all the way. But I'm going to do that in the other sketch. I'm going to do that in this sketch. Okay. Okay. And then here, I'm going to also have that in the extrusion. Okay. Because there's no reason why it needs to have that gap in there that it had. So this, I think, and then if I get rid of this and have the cutter base, okay. Yeah, so as long as when I make my drawings, I draw inside this rectangle here, which is almost square but not quite, then everything will fit. And this snowman can be the test of that. Why the snowman? Because I thought of snowman first. I could have done a Christmas tree. I could have done a star. I could have done the USS Defiant from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I thought of a snowman. So, yeah, this snowman can be my test of making sure that this works. And this is, it feels like a lot of wasted plastic, but now what I'm going to do, while I have time, is start a sketch on the cutter base here. And make some, I'm going to make some rectangles. These are going to be wall thickness. I'm going to trim it. Okay, and then I'm going to offset this by wrapper, negative wrapper. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go ahead and bring this in. I'm also going to offset. What in the world is this line here? Oh, I see. That was the piece of the rectangle. Okay. I'm also going to offset it by T thickness, or T snug, sorry. Now I'm going to make this collinear with this, and this collinear with this, and then I'm going to make this one collinear with this, and this one collinear with this. Alright. I'm gonna put a line going across all of this. And actually, it should be really small because all this is there for is... What I'm doing here is I'm gonna make the sleeve, the like tall sleeve that has all of them in it, but you can't pull them all out one at a time, or you have to pull them all out to get to the one you want if it's at the bottom. So now I'm going to mirror all of this on this line and mirror all of it again on this line. Gonna connect all of this. Okay. So then ideally these would all be the same size, right? This is 12.10 and this is 12.10. Okay, cool. So I only need to make one of these. Cool. So now if I get rid of the cutter base, right? Extrude all of this up. Make sure I don't include the, okay. Alright, and extrude that actually down by... I'm gonna make it the cutter height. No, I'm not gonna make it the cutter height. Yes, I am gonna make it the cutter height. Here's why. So I'm gonna go back into here and change this from wall thickness to wall thickness times 2 times 3. And do the same on this side. Alright. Cool. There. Something's off about this. Ah, okay. Yeah, okay. Alright, that's in there. And that's in there. Okay. Alright. And then I'm going to bring back that sketch. No, not that one. This one. And extrude only one of these. To the bottom here. And make that 2 sides. And the other side is just going to be really freaking tall. I'll make it like 180. How about that? So now if I get the cutter base, that's going to prevent it from coming out except from the top there. And then this body here. Okay, cool. Cool. Cool, I like that. Cool. Good. Next, what I'm going to do is bring back this body. Get rid of this sketch. Nope, can't do that. Okay. So I'll make a new sketch here. Now I'm going to extrude all of this, all of these. It's easier to do this than to like zoom in and get those tiny little bits on all of them. Wall thickness, okay. And then I get this body. So this body I'm gonna call bulk sleeve base. And this body I'm gonna call bulk sleeve wall. Alright. Gonna go ahead and round off these corners here on the bulk sleeve base because these corners mean nothing for the sake of the usefulness of it. And a rounded corner is much easier for something to 3D print because it's not going to peel up, right? And then I'm also going to do the same thing on this, but it's only going to be one wall thickness, not wrapper. All right. I'm also going to round the pick these corners too. And what that's going to do is going to prevent the corners from like what's that going to prevent? It's going to keep wall thickness times 2. So what rounding these corners will do is if there's any like inaccuracies when the print head, so when the nozzle draws this, right, it's gonna like stop and then go like this, and if it stops and then turns, right, it might drool a little bit. And instead of being a perfectly straight corner, it'll be like bulging a little bit, right? I don't want that because that'll keep it from it'll keep this from being able to slide in properly. So that's what that does. And then I think this one should also include these corners here, because they are going to be touched by people probably. All right. And then that's just the bulk sleeve, and then I've got the 3 non-bulk sleeves, the ones that I print with the cookie cutters as I make them. And then I've got this one, which I'm going to rename to snowman cutter. And then now I have to rename all these sketches I made. So this sketch was bulk sleeve base bottom. Yeah. This one, bulk sleeve this one, snowman cutter. This one is the snowman label. This one is snowman cutter. What do I call it? Protrusions? I don't know. This one, that's actually snowman cutter. And then this one is the cutter base. Alright, so now I have, essentially this is what the idea evolved into, but this right here is actually what the idea originally was. It was it was to keep all of these cookie cutters stacked on top of each other in this big sleeve to contain them. And then in this here fillet, I forgot one thing. I forgot one corner. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and export. Let's see, what am I going to do? The bulk sleeve base doesn't really have to be the whole cutter height. I'll divide that by 2. That's so much better. Okay. In fact, I might even divide it by 3. Yeah, because that would be 5 millimeters. And what in the world happened there? Did I accidentally? Yeah, I accidentally clicked on that. That's funny. Alright. Wall thickness times 2. Okay, nothing's all weird anymore. Good. Except for this, but I don't feel like dealing with that. So I'll just go ahead and I don't think this will need to be tested because like it's such a simple thing, so I don't think I'll print this. I'm gonna go ahead and do the bottom sleeve here and the snowman cutter. That's what I'm gonna print. Or should I do the top sleeve? Hang on. Actually, yeah, the top sleeve would be better because what that'll do is let me know if the cutter will actually be able to fit in the whole thing. It ought to, because this loose the loose parameter that I had, this parameter here, 0.25, is bigger than the parameter that I had for testing the T-snug of 0.2, which was the 0.2 was also very loose. It just things fell straight out, so things ought to be able to fit there just nicely. So, but I am going to actually save all of these, because I do want to compare with the cutouts and without the cutouts and see if the cutouts are saving me anything appreciable. These bottom cutouts here, that's what I'm trying to compare. 1,164. Top sleeve, save. Okay. Middle sleeve, 908. Save. Bottom sleeve, 424. Save. And then the snowman cutter, it's gonna have a lot, isn't it? 6,638. Cutters, snowman cutter, save. Okay. So the things that I want to see about the snowman cutter are if it fits in the sleeve and how well the text comes out. I do want to see how well the text comes out. It shouldn't be bad, because 1mm is something my printer can do with no supports, even with a straight out like the bottom of this A here, right? So like it shouldn't be bad, but I don't think it's gonna be too good either. I'm just looking to see if it's legible. That's all I really care about. Can I read it? So I will see how well it all fits together, and I will be back after. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and see how well it all fits together. Okay, never mind on that, on testing these at the moment, because I went into the slicer, I put the sleeves here into the slicer, and I did not like what I saw. It was like 2.5 hours for the cookie cutter, and then it was like 10 hours for one of these sleeves. So what I'm gonna do for now, right now, is go back into this cutout here. Where was it? No, not that one. Cut out from middle, and this one. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of everything here. Oh, so what the heck? This is supposed to go down there. Whatever. Okay. Okay, so now the cutout here was this one. It says from middle and top. So middle and top sleeves. So get rid of the bottom one. Okay. And if I look at that, there. And if they're all on the same type of base, right, they all will go into that slot there. And while I'm at it, do I really need them to all be different? Do I really need a separate middle and bottom? Do I like does the bottom really need to have a full plate here? So if I go back to this, if I just make that visible, so now the bottom, no, okay. Top, middle, bottom. Two, three, four, five, six. Okay, for some reason it decided that it's not going to do that on the bottom. That's fine. Okay. And then the same thing applies to the top, right? Do I really need for the top to have a top? Let me go back into the this sketch here, because if I'm printing it in this orientation, I do need it to be printable. So I do need this to be at an angle. No, don't put it anywhere but on the line. Jeez. Then I need this to go all the way. Stupid. And this one is the same as this. Put it yeah, 20. Right? Yeah, 20. Okay. Now change that again. And this one, Okay, middle sleeve. So now if I print this, in this orientation right here, it should be take a lot less time. I can probably get away with 55. And I can also probably get away with 25. And if I do a section analysis, right? Yeah. I've got 2 sections there, which means I've got 2 islands, which is kind of annoying to deal with. But yeah. Okay, so this one will just be the middle, and then the bottom one will just be the top and bottom. So I'm going to rename bottom to end sleeves. End sleeves, okay. And also, this doesn't have to be 10, it can be like 5. It can be 7. Right? And that whole setup there is designed to use as little filament as possible while still printing it without supports. Without having to bridge. So I take the middle sleeve and I move it just to see what it looks like. That's essentially what it'll look like. Okay, now what I'll do is I will save these. Oh, not end cutters. Yes, replace it. Yes. And end sleeves. Okay. And then another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out the snowman. I am going to print the snowman cookie cutter. But before I print the snowman cookie cutter, I should probably make sure that the text here is legible. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that and just cut that out. That should have created a new body. I don't see a new body. Oh. Now there are several bodies. text legibility test and save that. Put it in miscellaneous testing. Save that. Alright, get rid of the split. Get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and save the bulk sleeves, because if I don't like what I see when I put the these sleeves into the slicer, then I'm just going to only go with the bulk sleeves, because they'll work, they'll do the job, but just be slightly more annoying to use, right? So, and the reason for that is I don't want to use a crap load of filament, especially if I'm going to be using more filament on the thing to hold my cookie cutters than on the cookie cutters themselves, you know? Because a 2.5 hour print versus a 10-hour print, that's a big difference in time and material. So I'm going to go ahead and take the bulk sleeve base, save that. I put that in the wrong folder. Bulk sleeve wall. That goes in this folder. Alright, and I will print whichever style of sleeve I like better. I only really need like 2 or 3. I only really need enough height here for like a few of these, because I can also just make these come in sets. Anyways. I'm gonna save here. I'm gonna save here, and I'm gonna see what I can do with what I print out. And then I will print out what is the best thing to print out, whatever it is. Okay, so I've got this printing right now. I've got the other one printed. I needed 2. After that, I'm going to print this base here. But I had an idea that's going to require me to make 2 copies of this. Actually, let me look at the nope, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna need to make a mirror here. And is that gonna be in the exact spot it needs to be? Yes. Okay, and then I'm gonna need to mirror this one. And that's in the exact spot it needs to be. Alright. And then I really don't know if I actually need to make 2 copies, but I think I do. Anyways, what I'm gonna do is move both of these according to this by I use the parameter. Did that move up by that much? I don't think it moved at all. Oh. I moved it in the wrong direction. Okay, so. Anyways. Another thing I can do, and actually, is instead of moving these at all, I can just remember how big this was. This was how big? A third of the cutter height. Okay. So if I hide it, and I make a sketch here, and I project this whole thing, and I project okay, I'm gonna have to hide the other ones. This wall and this wall. Alright. Now I can start drawing the thing I need to draw, which is cutter height divided by 3. And then I just put a rectangle here that passes through that point. Okay. And this should be the cutter base plus the T loose times 2. Okay, and then make this one collinear with this one. Now I can just cut it out. Okay, and so what that'll do is if I have all of these in there, that'll give me space oh hey, that's interesting. That's interesting because that's oh, I see. Okay. It's because I made it T-loose, or not T-loose. I made this the cutter height divided by 3, but then I had the extrusion that made the bottom part here. So where is that? And that is wall thickness. So go into here. Minus wall thickness. Yeah. Okay. Now, change this to make sure that everything is invisible that needs to be invisible. You know what? I'm just gonna bring it to that face because that way it won't. Okay, so now if I bring back the bulk sleeve base, that hole will be inside of it, but it's just barely peeking up. And if I move this up by wall thickness and do the same thing to this one, and then I bring back the cookie cutter. Alright, then I'll have enough space to be able to pull the cookie cutter through here. And that way I'll get to be able to like pull out one cookie cutter at a time without having to like dump the whole thing. But I'll only be able to pull out the bottom one, right? But the idea here is that I would pull out the bottom cookie cutter and then I would kind of like cycle through them, right? I pull this one out, and then if it wasn't the one I wanted, I put it back in the top, and then I pull out the next one until I got to the cookie cutter I wanted. Another thing I'm going to do, I haven't printed the base yet. I don't think I want to print the whole base right now. The reason being, if the base doesn't work, it's not gonna do too well. And the walls here, I've already committed to printing 2 full walls here, but if I don't want to, I can just make. But to make okay, watch. I don't want to. If the base doesn't work, I've wasted all the filament it takes to make the whole base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the base and I'm going to put a plane about here. And I'm going to split the base through that plane. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and save this and name it test and put that in miscellaneous testing, I guess. Save. And then I can suppress this. Okay. So now what I can do is take these pieces. Gonna rename them to what am I gonna name that? Slotted right wall. And this one will be the slotted left wall. Okay. I can't think of a way to rotate this one into this one. Because if I rotate it... Anyways. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and chamfer these. Wall thickness divided by 2. I should make it 2 distances. And the other one can be okay. And then do the same thing on this one. That's a fillet. First one is wall thickness divided by 2, and then the second one is wall thickness alright. And then I'm going to do copy the base. I'm going to copy the base and make a lid. So I will go ahead and the reason I want to make a lid is so that I right, I don't want these swinging in and out. That would be kind of ridiculous, and I don't want to have to print the entire frickin' wall here, right? I'd rather have empty space there just so that I can save some material. Because when I went into the slicer, these sleeves here, the individual sleeves, while I believe they're a great idea, I just didn't like how much filament it would take, because I got to the point where it took about as much filament to make these as it took to make the cutter, the actual cookie cutter, right? Which is kind of fine, but it took about 4 times as much plastic as this will take, right? At least for the same amount of cookie cutters, it'll take that, because this can hold about 10 cookie cutters, and 10 cookie cutters, right? And then 10 of these will be 4 times as much plastic as this. So, and I did actually calculate using 2 of these, and 4 of these. So I'm going with this type of sleeve instead. I kind of want to make just one of these small sleeves, just to individual sleeves, just to show that it works, but I can do that later. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the base. No, not modify. Mid plane. This plane. This plane. Okay. Now I can take the base and mirror the base. Okay. So now what I can do is I can see how I can get it so that, because the cookie cutter, the actual cookie cutter itself, right, is on the same plane more or less, or on the same line more or less as these. So just cutting this out isn't quite going to solve the problem. Well, let me see what happens if I do just cut it out. If I just cut this out, then I've got this lid here, or this top here is kind of not wanting to. Whoa, what? Hang on. This is right, changing the selection. Ay, ay, ay. Offset that by loose parameter, and now if I just cut out the sketch, no wait, I just gotta change the, yeah, add this. Now I've got no faces that shouldn't be there. Okay, if I bring this back up, and I get the cookie cutter. Alright. And then just for the sake of completeness, this is what it will look like. And then also for the sake of completeness, the z-axis. Okay, also for the sake of completeness, this is what it would look like from the front. Oh, cool, I can get rid of all of them. Neat. That is what it would look like from the front. And then I'd have like multiple of these. I'd have up to 10 of these. And 10 is a good number of cookie cutters to have in like a set, you know? So I think that's a pretty cool idea. So I think this lid works as a way of keeping these pieces from shuffling too much, keeping the walls from flying out. In terms of staying in, it might be too, this might be too thin of a line here. Let me look at it. Oh, no, it is pretty thick. It does have a pretty good amount of heft to it, so it should be, these should be enough to keep it from trying to, but watch, okay. Just gonna pick any old line there, okay. So that lid will keep it from going this way. And hopefully should also keep it from going that way, but may not. So I'll have to test that. And what I can do is actually split this using this. Okay. And now this body, rename this as bulk sleeve lid test. Okay. And save this. Alright, and then I'll go ahead and suppress that. Did that save? Now let me try it again. No, don't. Okay, cancel. Cool, it did save. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this move because I don't need it. And then if there are less than 10 cookie cutters in, well, if there are, you know, honestly, actually, let me see. If there are less than that looks like about 3. So if there's less than 4 cookie cutters in here, then I could always just pull this. I could always just rotate this to a point where I can pull it out of the sleeve here, which is not a big issue. Because this is for bulk storage of cookie cutters, not to store a small amount of cookie cutters. So I would like to make a little travel case for this. I would like to do this. Then offset this by wrapper. And then okay. So what I would like to do is have another lid inside this lid to keep everything closed. So that's what I want to do. Extrude this, and this. Wall thickness or cutter base? I'm gonna go with cutter base because I want it to be thin. And then take go back in here and give it a lip. And then mirror that. And then alright, and that'll, if I bring back all the other stuff, Yeah. And this will keep it from, this will keep these from falling out if I need to move this whole setup here. But also I might not even print this at all. But in case I do, okay, that's going all the way there. It's the correct corner. I just wanted it to be. There. And then alright, bring back that sketch. Get rid of everything else and this. Alright. And a quick chamfer here of literally anything. Alright. So, what have I got? This is okay. This is not there. This, okay, this, rename that to bulk sleeve slot cutout. And then this one will be bulk sleeve lid cutout. And this one will be bulk sleeve lid. I gotta put a lid on my lid. So now if I rename this to lid, and I rename this to back right, no, back left, because the front that I'm looking at is actually the back of the thing. And then I rename the first one, okay, base, wall, slotted left wall, wait, okay, slotted right wall, left wall, bulk sleeve lid test. Oh, hang on, that should say. And it's not a test on this one if it works. So that's the whole lid. The printer made a noise that I was scared of, but it's fine. Okay. So now this is the next set of tests that I have to test. I'm going to test this, but I'm also going to test this. Also, I printed out just the text here, and it is very, very easy to read. So the way the text is here, that works perfectly. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep that perfect. Oh, and then another thing, another thing. Another thing is I'm just gonna go ahead and split this, and let's see. Okay. Save as. Test. Save. Okay, and then. Okay. Hang on. Yeah, this ought to work. And it's much easier to work with squares than to work with circles, but this concept would have also worked with circles. It just would have been harder to make a round base. So I'm glad I made a square base, because that makes it much easier to design. So yeah, I'll go ahead, print out all the changes that I made, and then I'll... Oh, is that already? Wow. I'll print out the changes that I made, and then I'll go ahead and test it all out and see how well everything works. Everything should work pretty fine. So... I've got everything printed out that I needed to test. I've got the base of the sleeve. I've got the walls here. And I've got the lid. And everything goes on fairly nicely, which I'm glad about. It means that it's gonna work. And the lid holds it together, actually. But it is a little bit flimsy. It does come off easily. I've been messing with this. It does come off easily. It's a little on the flimsy side. I think I'm gonna make the base deeper, and then for the lid, I'm only gonna make the parts directly around the sleeves deeper. And I might make that. In fact, I think I'm gonna make just the parts directly around the base deeper too. Just to make it less flimsy. No, I'll just make the whole base deeper, because that'll... do things how I want them to be. The cookie cutter fits mostly in this. Right, just fine. Except that one of these walls here, this one had print quality issues because the cardboard spool came off of its little plastic adapter thingy, so it didn't turn properly and it had extrusion issues. So this one is too thick, so I'll need to print another one. I printed both sides of the slotted walls, but only a little bit of them, just to make sure that it works. And the cookie cutter, as long as they're both in all the way, the cookie cutter does fit through them. As long as they're in all the way. It fits through them pretty nicely and pretty smoothly, except that the this here is a little too big. So I'm gonna go ahead and, in the model, I'm going to shrink this, I'm gonna make sure that this is smaller than this by like 2 millimeters on each side. That'll be for sure small enough. But on this physical one here, I'm just going to cut off these edges here to make it small enough to pass through this, because then I won't have to cut a whole new snowman cookie cutter. The text is perfectly legible even through this crappy camera, which is nice. And the lid, where's the lid? The lid piece works better with these here smaller, shorter with the shorter wall pieces, because, well, these are shorter and aren't as prone to moving. But that does tell me that the lid does actually fit properly and would hold these in if it was just a little bit deeper. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a side of the base and make everything around the base on, let's see, make everything on the outside here deeper, but everything on the inside is going to stay the same. And then I'm going to exclude these so that I have space to, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to make the base and the lid deeper. The walls are fine. This is tall enough to hold 10 cookie cutters. This right here can hold 10 cookie cutters, and it's not that tall. It's because cookie cutters are short. One thing I did notice about the cookie cutter is if I'm pressing down on the whole thing, then these corners tend to flex because they're not very connected rigidly to the shape of the cookie cutter. So that's something that I'm going to have to pay attention to in future cookie cutter designs, I'm going to have to like add some rigidity, some beams for rigidity to this. But other than that, this cookie cutter is perfectly fine. I should be able to make a pretty darn good looking cookie. I mean, this bit of the top hat will probably get burned, but that's fine. I don't mind a slightly browner section of a cookie. I should be able to make a pretty darn good cookie. I'm glad that this finished completely though, because this is the longest print so far that I've had off of the roll of filament that I'm using for this. And it's on a cardboard spool, and cardboard spools are apparently really annoying to print with. So if it goes too long and it falls off of the adapter, it has under extrusion issues because the cardboard will get like stuck. It doesn't have enough friction, or it's too much friction rather. And so the extruder has a hard time pulling on the spool because the extruder doesn't turn the spool directly. The spool kind of is allowed to move by the fact that the filament is being pulled in. But yeah, future cookie cutter designs are gonna have to account for that distance there. These walls are good, except I need to print a third one because this one had issues, and I need to make the base and the lid a little bit taller just to hold on to these walls better. And other than that, it's fine. Something else I didn't realize is, well, no, because I'm never gonna have a cookie cutter design. Let's see. Because as long as this is touching that, then the next one will have something to sit on top of. But yeah. Where's the... That's interesting. It's going through both sides, but it's stopping. What's stop? Oh, that's right. This is too short. Yeah. But yeah, those are the changes I'll have to make. Very minor changes, very minimal changes. But yeah. Let me think about how I'm gonna test it. I think I can print just one bit of the base. And like, yeah, jiggle it around and see how long it takes for it to fall out. It's gonna fall out if it's just one bit like that, but if it takes a long time, then that's good. So I think that's how I'm gonna test it, is I'm gonna put this wall in the one bit of the base that I print and see how well that works, and do the same thing with the lid, because the lid has a slightly different geometry to the base. Right, it's lacking these inside walls here. So yeah, that's what I'll end up doing, or that's probably what I'll end up doing.